caught the darkness. It was drinking from your cup. I caught the darkness drinking from your cup. I said, is this contagious? You said, just drink up. The latest Columbia House Party mailbag episode. Jake, what's up?
Not much. How you doing?
I'm good.
Are you ready to answer some questions?
Yes, it's all I've been doing lately. I live to answer questions right now.
A fun time for everyone
Let's
involved.
go.
Let's do it.
Yeah. This is your November mailbag. Unless you have any banter to fill the banter slot of the run sheet here, Jake, should we just get into it?
Yeah, let's quote rock and roll.
Jake.
Yes.
We have a delivery. Some questions have been dropped off in the mailbag from the postman.
That's right, darling. Yeah. It's your baby. Yeah, I got her waiting on me. She looking down the block. She see me walking up and she run to the mailbox. She say it feels like she's up in the cell block. And I open her cell lock. Just come to make my mail drop. More masculine than him, I'm nastier than him. I'm passing her and him in something faster than them. And then he like, damn, there go that bastard again, and she correct him, and I respect her, and he protect her, and she neglect him, and he caress her, and she molest me. He must be weak, cause me, I'm just a. And when her man home, I'm the ghost man. Why you think she holding that pillow close, man? Why you think she won't open the bathroom door? She's no whore, she want more of the. No postal service, I just got my social working. And your girl is lurking, and this world is dirty. And your girl is nervous, so give me head in a convertible. I'm the kind and courteous. She loved that in me, she loved me in her, and I love that plenty. It never fails. Sorry, homeboy, but you've got mail. I'm the.
I was thinking the other day, because of how much Dylan loves Insane Clown Posse, that we should have used the Insane Clown Posse drop that goes there, that went there the one time for every mailbag. We should have just stuck with that.
I was going to say, this seems to be lacking in Insane Clown Posse, which I thought was part of the idea that we discussed whenever that was, last month maybe. I don't know.
Well, you don't like it? You coordinate and organize the mailbag episodes. Sorry, Dylan. I know you. Maybe I'll just send you some Insane Clown Posse stuff later. Maybe some Twisted. We'll see. Apologies to Dylan. Let's get into the mailbag. This is your November Columbia House Party Patreon supporter mailbag. The first question comes from Miles and is related to how I introduced this podcast with no energy whatsoever. Miles asks, hypothetically, say you receive a bunch of illegal trades in your mailbag column. What music are you listening to while you're aimlessly walking around your neighborhood trying to recollect yourself? The answer in this case, Miles, has been that I haven't really had enough time the last couple days to get out and wander around. But something sparse and, I don't know. Like, I feel like Punisher would be a good album for that, but also maybe some Mitski. I don't know. Something dreary, that's for sure. Tis the season. From a work perspective and from a weather perspective.
Love to wake up and the entire house is still dark.
Yeah. All right. I just mentioned Phoebe Bridgers and Mitski, so we are going to pivot to an actual question and not just a funny question. This one also comes from Miles, who asks, what are your top 5 female-fronted bands? Now, Jake, anyone who has followed along for a little while knows that, at least in recent years, I skew heavy to the female front person side of things. I don't know how much, like, when he says bands, I don't know how much he means, like, does a singer-songwriter count? Does, like, a pop artist count? Probably not. I think he's probably asking about, like, traditional rock bands, kind of. But if you go back to my best of 2018 album ranking, the first 14 were all female fronted bands. So I've got some options here. Jake, do you want to lead us off?
Sure. I also struggle with that question of singer-songwriters counting towards what or what not. I included one, though, but I don't know if it counts because they have a band. So it's, walking that line. But that one I was going to mention is Alex Leahy, who I have listened to a ton over the last few years.
Yes, she's wonderful. Best of Luck Club kicks ass.
Yes, so good. I also love War on Women, who are extremely loud and extremely good. I was going to put in a classic easy one like Bikini Kill or Slater Kinney, but I feel like that's too easy, and I didn't really like the last Slater Kinney record all that much. Again, not sure if this counts as a band, but I think it does. But US Girls, if we want to go local, is always great. The great Rat Boys, of course, are way up there. And of course, I'll be remiss if I didn't mention, I think, my favorite female-fronted band, who rip like few others. And that is, of course, Screaming Females.
That is Ripe from Screaming Females, and it is great. Good pick, Jake.
Marissa Paternoster, one of the best rock guitarists in the world right now. IMO.
Yeah, no argument there. I went all over the place with this one and answered way more than 5, so I apologize for that. More longer term historically, Blondie and the Distillers have always been favorites of mine. Paramore is, I think everyone knows, one of my all-time favorite pop punk bands. More recently, I would like to round out an official top 5. I would say Camp Cope and the Beths. I love the Beths. They're probably, short of Phoebe, probably my favorite band of the last couple of years, or at least the one I've listened to the most. I don't know if this counts because it's a pop act, but I think it does. Churches would also be in there. Lauren Mayberry is Churches, but
that's a band.
There's technically other people there. They just, I would like them to not sing. And then for more recent ones, just to give people a wider option set here, you mentioned Rat Boys. I would put Illuminati Hotties in that group. Diet Sig, No Bro, the Bomb Pops are a really fun female fronted punk band. So lots of options, and I would imagine when we do our year ends, it'll be pretty heavy on that once again.
Yeah.
Our next question comes from Chrissy, and it probably would have fit the October mailbag better, but I didn't see it until after we recorded that one. Chrissy asks, have you ever worn a music-related Halloween costume, and which one would you wear if you had to?
I have not. I haven't really dressed up in earnest for Halloween. I think I've dressed up once in earnest for Halloween in like the last, 15 years or so. I'm not really a Halloween guy, so no, I have not worn a musical Halloween costume.
I have not either. The closest I've gotten is I was Jack Skellington once, and that's like a musical cartoon, so maybe that's close enough.
That counts.
I was also Edward Scissorhands, which is like very emo adjacent, even though it's not music. But to answer the second part of the question, if I had to do it, I would go Gerard Way from the Helena video. Red eyeshadow, red tie, black suit, the most elite emo bangs. I feel like that one's not only easy, but also like very recognizable. And a lot of music costumes would probably go too esoteric.
Yeah.
What about you, Jake? What would you pick if you actually had to?
I think you're pretty much on the right path, but I think I would go Black Parade. Okay. Just because I like the outfit.
Yeah, little home craft to make that suit jacket and everything.
Well, I mean, I'd make Cassie do it. I'm certainly not going to.
Yeah, of course.
But
I wasn't suggesting you would do it.
No, of course not. I have no discernible artistic skills, so. But yeah, I think that makes sense.
Our next question comes from Tristan, who asks, what local band did you adore that never broke big? Cauterize, who are my answer for this one. But Jake, you have an answer that is a group I've never heard of.
Yeah, so I'm cheating a little bit here in that I'm saying it's local to Montreal where I used to live. So it's not a local Toronto band. But this was a band that were friends of mine when I lived there. And were just like, the second I heard them, I was like, this is the coolest fucking band I've ever heard. I hope they're the next big Montreal thing. And in 2010, at the opening night of Montreal Jazz Fest or Blues Fest, whichever one is the big one in the summer, I forget, they played a sold out show at Club Soda. And it was, to this day, it's one of the best shows I've ever seen. And it really felt for a minute like they were about to become like the next Arcade Fire or just something that broke huge. And they never did, but I still love them and I still listen to them all the time. They have two really great records that you should check out. So this is Sofa Bed by Think About Life.
Dig it.
Yeah, their second album, Family, is an all-timer for me, so I highly recommend.
All right, our next question comes from Miles once again. Miles asks, do you have a guilty pleasure band, like someone you totally shouldn't like or won't admit to, but you hear their music and you find yourself tapping your foot and belting out the chorus? No disrespect to Miles, who is a later joiner to the Patreon and the Discord. This has come up a couple times, and Jake and I are pretty firm that we don't believe in guilty pleasures. If you like Carly Rae Jepsen or the new Machine Gun Kelly or the Japanese band Baby Metal, you just like it. It's fine. Jake, I imagine your take hasn't changed on that much.
No, I've noticed that like there's still certain things that like I still definitely have that like judgmental part of my brain. Like I'll listen to something and be like, oh, I shouldn't be listening to this. But then 2 minutes later, I'm like, oh, wait, I don't care. And I like it. So, yeah.
Speaking of things you shouldn't be listening to, I feel like the 2020 extension of guilty pleasure bands might be like still listening to bands that have been canceled. Like Steve and I have joked before that Brand New are the most listened to band on Spotify of people who have their account on private.
I actually kind of think that's pretty accurate.
Like maybe that's the new definition of a guilty pleasure. Like,
yeah,
you know, I still listen to Brand New or Pine Grove or something like that.
I like that.
Yeah. Obviously not great to make light of those things, so I don't intend to do it that way. But I do think that the guilty pleasure definition could be shifting as kind of, you know, monoculture shatters and the whole, like culturally, like everything is niche and every niche has a place. There might be a new definition for guilty pleasures emerging. Which is just, like quietly liking problematic shit. All right. Pivoting to things we don't like. This question comes from Drake.
He's listening to the show now? That's cool. About time.
Your close personal friend, Aubrey.
About fucking time,
asks,
Aubrey. Jeez.
Yeah. Doesn't he owe you money?
Who doesn't?
What bands or albums are you expected to like based on your other favorites, but just couldn't get into?
I mean, like my original answer for this is something we've talked about before, which is the Wonder Years, but I actually like quite like them now. But I guess it would have been my answer. I guess actually, honestly, because I made it such a thing, like this is my fault. Like I made it a thing about me on the internet, just like any ska band. Now people are like, oh, you must like this. And like the thing about any genre of music, even if you are forced to quote unquote defend it, is that there's good stuff and there's bad stuff. And like there are a lot of bad ska bands, especially a lot of the ska bands from like the 90s. Like I would say a lot of stuff coming out today is more interesting and better than it was when it was popular, which is the case in most genres. So I guess that would be one. Also, like NoFX and Rancid, I feel like would be assumed I like, but I really don't at all.
I have more time for Rancid than you, but NoFX are bad.
Yeah,
Sorry, I shouldn't say are bad. I do not like NoFX.
Yeah,
the better way to.
I agree.
To phrase it. My answers for this one, Idols is a big one that we talked about on a singles episode a while back, and it's just a lot of people who have the same taste in music as me really like Idols, and I just can't get there with it. Another like Idols, I actively don't enjoy listening to. One that's kind of, I don't mind it, and a lot of my friends who I share music with, like you and Kramer love Jason Isbell, right?
Yeah.
And it's just never clicked for me. And it's not that I don't like it. It's just never, like every time he has a new album, I check it out and then don't really come back to it.
Well, you're not really a country guy, I don't think.
I mean, I like some of that country adjacent stuff though. Like I don't mind Chris Stapleton's new album. I don't mind a Sam Hunt.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean Taylor Swift or Phoebe or whatever. Like some of that stuff that borders, like Casey Musgrave, some of that stuff that borders on alt country or like that line between folk and country. But yeah, maybe that's not the best example. And then the big one for me, and like this isn't like, I know why I don't enjoy Idols. And like where, like we discussed the difference in that over the course of that singles episode that we did on them. And one that I haven't been able to unpack as well as to why is Big Thief. Like everyone I follow on Twitter that I talk about music with or we have similar tastes fucking loves Big Thief. And I don't, it doesn't click for me at all. And I have tried a bunch of times. And I don't know if it's because they had the one album where the cover looked like a young Jakob Pertl, and it's all I can think of anytime I listen to them. But yeah, I can't get there with Big Thief, even though like if you somehow like Venn diagrammed or like word clouded everyone that I follow for music takes or enjoy their music takes, Big Thief would be one of the most prominent ones that came up, and I just
I also
can't get there.
I also can't really get there with them.
Right, but I feel like they would be more of a me band.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll figure that one out another time. Our next question comes from Danny. Danny asks, what's your favorite album by an artist that's aged 60 or older? And Danny would like to clarify that this is not an album by someone who is now 60. It is an album that was recorded when they were 60 or older. And Jake, you love the new Springsteen, right?
I do. I was tempted to go with that one, but I feel like it's too new for me to like be like, it's the best one.
Yeah, there's a little recency bias there, maybe.
Yeah. I actually really like the Springsteen album Wrecking Ball from 2012, I want to say. I know it wasn't like the best received one, but I really, really like it. That would be up there for me. Black Star by David Bowie would be up there for me as well. Also, the Next Day by David Bowie as well. I don't know what age he was then, but I assume he was over 60 when he did that one. So I'm just going to settle and make it easy on myself and just say Wrecking Ball.
There you go. I'm going to keep it Canadian, and I'm going to go with Leonard Cohen's Old Ideas, which came out in 2012 when he would have been, I think, 77. Songs from the Road from 2010 would have also been a good option there. He didn't have a decline phase. He's like the Kyle Lowry of songwriting. It never dropped off at any point. So yeah, I'm going to go with Leonard Cohen's Old Ideas, which starts, or no, not starts. I started the podcast with this song, but it does not, the album doesn't start with it. But this is The Darkness by Leonard Cohen.
I'll cut the darkness. It was drinking from your cup. I'll cut the darkness. Drinking from your cup. I said, is this contagious? She said, just drink it up. The darkness, drinking from your cup. I said, is this contagious? You said, just drink it up.
Yeah, that's a great. I would say also his final record, You Want It Darker, was way up on my list, end of year list that year, and that's also a excellent record. Actually, that might be my answer now that I'm thinking about it.
Well, there you go. Steal my answer.
I will.
You son of a bitch.
Haha.
We should probably do a Leonard Cohen episode.
We should definitely do a Leonard Cohen episode at some point.
Yeah. I guess the issue would be picking one album, but maybe we could do like maybe there's room for us to do like a month of like career retro, like a what's it called, like a lifetime achievement Columbia House Party.
That would be, cool.
Month or something. Leonard Cohen, Elliott Smith. We'll get some other stuff in there.
That'd be cool. I like that idea.
That might work. All right. Next question comes from Miles again, who is responsible for like half of this mailbag. So thanks for doing our job for us, Miles. Miles says, rank your parents' music, top 3 artists and bottom 3. So for Miles's dad, the top 3 would be Benny Goodman, Billie Holiday, and Glenn Miller, but the bottom 3 would be Art Tatum, anything from Lawrence Welk, and then his mom's top 3 would be Oak Ridge Boys, and that's about it. And the bottom 1,000 is everything else with Anne Murray and Dead Last. So basically, Jake, when you think back to music your parents listened to or introduced you to, what are your top 3? What are your bottom 3? And is there a difference between your mom and dad?
So is this what their top 3 would be, or what my favorite 3 introduced to me by them would be?
Yeah, that like things they listen to, your 3 favorites and your 3 least favorites.
So number 1 from both my parents share a pretty overlapping musical taste, so I'm just going to rank them together because separating those really makes sense. So number 1 would be Springsteen, which we've talked about. Number 2 is probably the Rolling Stones. And then number 3 would probably be... No, number 2 would be Bowie. And number 3 would be the Rolling Stones. My parents are very much like classic rock people. And I actually don't know what the bottom 3 would be because there wasn't a lot of the music almost all the music my parents listened to when I was younger is like classic rock stuff that is mostly fine. So I guess, I don't know if my dad was really into the Doors or the Eagles, but they're always the answer for classic rock bottoms. So I'm just going to say the Doors and the Eagles because no one should listen to the Doors and the Eagles.
All right. For me, my dad, I think this has come up before, but my dad was a big Meatloaf fan, which I liked at the time. And then for a long time, kind of figured wasn't good. And it was just something I listened to because my dad listened to. And then going back to it as an adult, like Bat Out of Hell rips so hard. So Meatloaf's in there. My dad was a big Queen guy too. So I'll give him points there, even though that's like a pretty standard parents listening to thing. It's still... given some of the other stuff that he was listening to, I'll still give him points there. And then, I have this has come up plenty, including on a recent singles episode. I have a deep fondness for Great Big Sea, who my dad obviously introduced me to. So I will go Meatloaf, Queen, and Great Big Sea at the top. At the bottom, I don't have a specific 3, but my dad listened to like a lot of like butt rock and dad rock, just like indistinguishable rock from the 80s and 90s.
Right.
Like, that I can't really make heads or tails of in retrospect. And then he eventually pivoted to like not being a music guy at all, but he asked for a record player for Christmas. So maybe he's swinging back into it.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah. I feel like when I was in high school, my dad had like music that I liked. My dad started getting into, which like was fun.
Yeah,
that's
the only one like that my dad ever liked was Motion City Soundtrack. He was that was the only group he could get into.
Yeah, my dad liked Propaganda for a minute. And then he got really into like older stuff that I was getting to, like The Clash and REM and that kind of thing, which was good.
Sweet. On my mom's side, we've actually already covered the only 2 albums that my mom ever listened to, Alanis Morissette and Robin. So my mom has never been a big music person. Like she drives with the news on in the car or like the radio with the volume turned all the way down. So yeah, she is not a music person really at all.
Fair enough.
So there you go. All right, Jake, because of how swamped I am, that's going to do it for the mailbag today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Jake, we got to pick one of these songs for the mixtape.
Ooh, that's a tough one this week. I'm going to vote for Think About Life because we're never going to do that album. And I want them to get more respect.
All right. Let me just type into the microphone here. Think About Life, Sofa Bed, mixtape B-side. Let's go.
Beautiful.
All right. Patreon supporters, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for supporting and all the questions for the mailbag. We have a few held over for next time, so don't fret if yours wasn't asked. We will get to them eventually. And thank you for the continued support. We mean that. I say, these outros are always a little rambly, but we seriously mean it. Jake, thanks so much, man.
Thanks, man.
Please try the fish.